Welcome back to another episode of Skid's Garage, and today I'm going to attempt, and I will emphasise attempt, to get this now driving. Now it's running, let's try our luck in getting it driving. So let's get stuck into it. So welcome back to another episode of Skid's Garage, and today we're going to see if I can get this Escort driving. So I've got to button up a few little pieces. So I've got to chuck 2 bolts down onto the alternator that mounts to the engine. That way I can run the belt and the water pump. I've got a new fuel pump to chuck in. So the old pump's down there somewhere. So take the old pump out, put the new one in. I've got some fuel line. I'm going to run that to the back and see if I can actually put the tank back in and get that working. Then it's just a jigsaw puzzle of parts to put onto it. So I'm hoping I can get the lights in, front grille, front bumper, rear bumper. Hopefully I can mount those seats in properly and put the bolt into the steering shaft. Down here somewhere you can kind of see it, the shaft that runs down there. There's no actual bolt that holds it in, so the steering wheel just falls on and off. So chuck a bolt into that, a few other little pieces, and see if we can get it closer to driving out of the shed. So let's get stuck into doing all that. So I've got the old fuel pump out, the one that didn't seem to want to pump, and my new one. So chuck the new one in, out with the old, in with the new, and fingers crossed it pumps. Fingers crossed I can get it running on its own with a hose just running into a jerry can. Also, while I was at it, I also chuck new bolts into the alternator. So that's now all secured. Have a look from over top, and the belt's on. So now the water pump should work. So one step closer. So I've put the new fuel pump in. Not sure if you can see it down there. There she is. So I put the new fuel pump in, and now running. This is a hose I'm going to run from the pump all the way through to the back to the fuel tank. So, but I just want to see if it runs and works. So I'm just got it going to a jerry at the moment. So I'm going to give it a go. Fingers crossed she'll fire up and run. So let's find out. And we have success. It's running on its own now with a new fuel pump. Just burning off all that excess dust and grime and oil and whatever else is on the engine. So there you go. So let's say see if we can get it driving. A few more things to do before we try to get it driving, but this is definitely one big leap forwards. So anyway, let's get stuck into it some more and get closer to making it driving. So after having it running, I just remembered I checked the oil and it's way too high. So I thought I'll drop the oil, and this is what's happening. I have no idea what the hell the deal is, but there's literally nothing coming out. But where's my... Oh, here it is. chuck this back in. And then you can see there, way too much oil. So there's definitely oil in it, it's just not coming out. But anyway, that's interesting. Anyway, let's keep getting stuck into it and see what the actual problem is. There we go, it's flowing now. All it was some gunk in the hole there. I put a screwdriver in and gave it a quick little wiggle and it come squirting on out. So that's all it was. Had me panicking there for a while. So all good. I'm going to carry on now. That's the leftover oil. That's how much oil I had too much of. And this is how I do my oil changes these days, because I just find it significantly easier than continuously trying to check the dipstick. I actually just measure out how much oil the engine takes. In this case it's 3.25 litres. So measure that out, chuck it in the engine, and I then know I've got the exact amount in the engine. So I'm going to chuck that in the engine and go again. Well, what a waste of time that was, other than my small spill there. The gasket is that damn knackered, it just spews straight back out. Doesn't even get time to run down to the bottom. Like, it just spewed its guts out. So all that means for me is I'm actually going to have to get new oil. I guess that's probably the car telling me, don't be dodgy, don't reuse old oil, and just do it properly. Anyway, I'm going to have to clean this up and get some oil and put new stuff in. So this is the culprit. As you can see, it doesn't even, like, where does it sit? It sits there like this. So if you look back, it's missing a big section up there, and it's missing that section there. So even if I wanted to try to use a old crusty gasket, that's actually missing pieces. It's not on the back of here, and I've had a look up here, it's not up on the head there. So that's where it's been pouring out of. It would have been pouring straight out the back of here, just straight out, and gives that result. Anyway, I'm going to have to work something out and, yeah, seal it up and put more oil in it. I didn't want to do it, but I got the rocker cover from my Mark II, because that's got a freshly rebuilt engine in it, so the gasket's perfect in it. Yeah, hate doing it, but it's the only way I could continue on with trying to get it running. Now, when I changed the rocker cover, I tried starting it up again and it wouldn't run properly. And I know that the carby had, I had a carby that I'd actually played with the float and stuff. I reckon it was this carby. So I've actually swapped the top half over from a different carby, and it's now running really good. I've also, because the throttle pump was leaking heaps as well, I've swapped that over as well. I'll just show you what the old pump and everything looked like. So this is the old pump. No, in fact that's not the old pump. The old pump must have, I've screwed the old pump back in there, but you could actually tell around the edge around here and everything, it was actually all see-through. So it was like see-through, kind of like white mesh kind of stuff. So that's all, the fuel was just leaking straight past it, wasn't working. And this is the top half I took off. So I'm not sure, let's
I'm not sure what this part right here is, but for whatever reason, it's not going to do it for me now. But it pivoted. Well, you can see how it's not straight. It pivoted out and completely come off from that spring. So I'm not sure what that does or anything, but I swapped the top half over anyway. As you can see, it's just holding on. And the float, you might see there, got it way adjusted up way too high. That bit of metal, tiny little bit of metal, that yeah, I've got to adjust that down. So I reckon this is the one that had the dodgy float in it. Changing it over and doing a few little finer little adjustments, it fires up perfectly. So let's do that now. It's not easy doing it one-handed. So that's the ignition. Okay. And it should just fire up first go. There we go. Needs a good tune, but she fires straight up. Got a pretty bad exhaust leak. Needs a good tune, but she fires straight up and runs. I've got a really bad, probably easier to talk without the engine running. I've got a really bad water leak. I reckon that's coming from the inlet manifold because the gasket's absolutely knackered on that. So I need a new inlet manifold gasket. Other than that, we're powering along really well. So I'm still yet to actually, well, at the moment that's what it's running off. That's essentially the fuel line, fuel tank. I've got to run that line underneath the car to this tank. This tank's literally just sitting in here loose. I put it in there just earlier. Yeah, so I'm going to connect it to that. That way I can run it off the actual tank. I've also got, because it's actually got no fuel line or anything in it currently, got this. That'll go into it, and then the fuel line connects to that. When I actually do the job, I'll show you a bit more in depth what I mean. So that's one of the jobs I got to do. Also got to wire up the alternator so it actually charges. At the moment it's just sitting there so I can, for the water pump. And got to swap the wheels over so it's rolling. Other than that, that's about it for the meantime. So anyway, I'm going to power on, and with any luck I might be able to drive it out the shed, but we'll see how we go. So with a bit of dodginess, zip ties, random springs, and whatever contraption that one is, I've got a working throttle. So that's just one step closer to being able to drive it out. So this is where I'm at. Engine is running, throttle works. I have put these wheels on with the old dodgy 2-wheel nut trick. Don't suggest you do that at home. That is very dodgy. Anyway, I've done that to all 4 wheels. I'll see if I can get to the other side and you'll get a profile of what this looks like with the wheels. I actually quite like it. So I'm thinking these wheels are gonna belong to this car. Anyway,
is rolling, throttle is working, the car starts up and runs, and this is my fuel system. I've ran the hose through the firewall, through there. It's hard to see, it's dark, but anyway, it runs through, wraps around itself and into what I'm now using as the fuel tank at the moment. So I think I'm in a position to see if this will drive out. If it does, I'll give this space a good clean, then I'll drive it back in. So I'll get you on a tripod and I will try my luck. Fingers crossed. Well, there you go. If that's not dodgy, I don't know what isn't. So there you go. It's now running and driving. So I guess next step is to slowly piece it back together like a jigsaw puzzle. As you can see, it's missing a lot of parts. A lot of the parts for it come with the car when I picked it up all those years ago from the wreckers who had it piled up ready to be crushed up into a cube. Thank God I saw it and inquired about it and managed to score it. So another one saved. So there we go. I'm pretty over the moon about this finally running again. Anyway, I'm going to get stuck into tying up that bay in the shed. Then I'm going to drive it back and I think I'll call it a day. And just like that, I've given the bay a quick once over, driven the Escort back in. So now I can say it's been driven to where it now sits. So as I said earlier, I'm going to have to now piece it together like a jigsaw puzzle. Lights, bumpers, grille, whatever else. There's heaps to be done to it. So anyway, that's that. So that'll be the end of this video. And I'll see yous all on the next episode of Skid's Garage.